right, ladies and gentlemen, in week 9, there is no vocab. We are doing 2 days of instruction. You have the PSAT, and then we have a test. That test and those assignments for week 9 will be the last ones going into this quarter. So please make sure you keep that in mind. We are going to start on Federalist 78. Please join me. Ladies and gentlemen, do not complain to me about writing this because this will be the 3rd time I've written it. Yes? So don't complain to me. You can handle it. Everything will be fine. You're not going to die. Here we go. Federalist 78, ladies and gentlemen. So, a couple of big things, huh? This is 9. This is week 9, and we'll go into quarter 1. Here we go. Federalist 78. You need to know that it is Federalist Papers. Arguing for the ratification of the Constitution. It is written by Hamilton. It's about the judicial branch. Okay, so everyone agrees. Judicial branch needed more centralizing. But they argued over, skip a space because we're going to put it in a nice little box, over how and how long the judges will be appointed and their power. Okay, so the major question of this piece is how and how long the judges will be appointed in their power. So the how is appointed by the president, parentheses, article 1, 2, 3. And then the length is during the convention.
What convention?
During, like, the Constitutional Convention. During the convention, they argued that federal judges who have life appointments will be more independent. Okay, so the length, during the time, during the convention, they argued that federal judges who have life appointments will be more independent. You just need to highlight, according to the plan of the convention, all judges who may be appointed to the U.S. Sorry, there's nothing worse than sneezing into a mask. Okay, independent. Perfect. Flip it. Grab one from up here. But if you work and lean into it and put a little more effort there, you'd be done, Andrew. Your peers are. Okay. We're going to highlight, if then, down here, the courts and the justice are to be considered the bulwarks of a limited constitution against the legislative encroachments. This consideration will afford a strong argument for the permanent tenure of judicial offices, since nothing will contribute so much as to the independent spirit of the judges, much must be essential. Okay. Pulling this all the way up here. I just drew a line. That's all I've done so far. To here. So, Federalist number 51, which is written by Madison, argued that each of the three branches should be as independent as possible. Okay, Hamilton, I drew an arrow. Hamilton is arguing that here. And that's a big deal. So there's consistency between that, between these Federalists. Okay, so the big thing is lifetime appointments. Will allow impartiality and not having to worry about policing the people for the sake of re-election. Okay, essentially, lifetime appointments. We'll see. Practical function as well. Because changing judges I'm changing what I wrote, will cause a loss of precedent. Okay, so changing out judges would be a huge problem all the time. Okay, 3, 2, 1, flip it. Okay, the only thing I need down here is a temporary duration in office, which would naturally discourage such characters from quitting a lucrative line of practice to accept a seat on a bench, would have a tendency to throw administration of justice into hands less able, less qualified to conduct with utility and dignity. So, in this piece, Hamilton argues legislative branch checks judicial by appointments. Next, judicial review ensures that the people are protected from their own government. Courts are intermediaries between government and the people. And a big star legislative branch is more powerful than any other branch. Okay, so you're just going to put a little star down here. Lifetime equals best and brightest judges. Okay, so. Okay, flip it to the back. The only thing you need to know. So, when you think of Federalist 78, you need to know that lifetime appointments are necessary to keep judges independent and unreliant on popular will. Second, written to convince people to ratify the Constitution. Third, the judicial branches power of judicial review does not make it more powerful, but rather balances and checks. Perfect. Done. Okay, take out which one? Let's do Federalist 10.
I had a meeting today, so.
You're fine. I'm glad you're here. It's nice to have you close.
Oh. I think I need glasses though.
I think you do need glasses.
For real.
Okay, Federalist 10. It is Federalist Papers. Wanted. The Constitution to be ratified. Okay, you need to put a star. Written by Madison, because most of them are written by Hamilton. Okay, so underneath that, how will the new Constitution protect the liberty of citizens against the tyranny of the majority? Okay, so that is the major question of the piece, is how will the Constitution protect the liberty and citizens against the tyranny of the majority? So, it is important for you to know the founders did not want a pure democracy. Pure. What is a pure democracy? Everyone votes on everything. They didn't want it. Okay, what did they end up implementing? A representative democracy or a Republican democracy. So, because the majority will always win over minorities, and thus no protection for minority views. Okay, now, before you think minority and these people are being incredibly righteous and including all races into the conversation, are they doing that? No! This is in 1783. They're talking about rich white men. It's not about minority people, it's minority ideas. So before you think they're trying to ensure everyone's included, don't be ridiculous. It is about minority ideas. Okay? Of small sets of citizens. That's what they're worried about. Do they care about what non-rich white people think? No, absolutely not. Okay, so just like in Federalist 51, where Hamilton talks about the executive branch, yes, and he talks, what's the most important thing? That the executive branch has to have lots of energy. You can't talk about Federalist 51 without talking about energy. Federalist 10, you have to talk about factions. Factions. That is what this whole piece is about. Factions, they are a threat to liberty. Madison uses violence to describe them. Okay, and what are they? They are citizens who want to dominate government and I can't read my handwriting. And force, that's not what it is. Force their intent on others. I have no idea what it says. Looks like an O. I have no idea. Alright, so to force their intent on others. So, what you need to have highlighted for this one. The most important quote is actually the very first lines because this isn't a full Federalist 10. He goes on and drags on for a little bit at the beginning, but I cut it off for you. Okay, now I need a new highlighter. Okay, so the biggest one is that one. In this case, he's making an argument for two solutions. Okay, these are the two solutions to keep factions from causing chaos here in the United States. This is option number 1. And we'll get to option number 2 in a second. So flip it, please. Yep. Okay, so how do you stop factions? One, stop from forming. Or 2, limit effects. Okay, so those are the two options, Hamilton and Madison issues. So argument number 1, okay, stop formations. That's his big thing, and he says it's a terrible option because it will destroy liberty. Okay, so he goes on to say, denying liberty to control factions is worse than factions controlling liberty. Okay? Okay? He says, or everyone has the same opinion. Is that ever going to happen? We all can't even agree on what's the best dessert in this room. And we all happen to know it's apple pie. Best by far. Impossible. I love apple pie. It's like my fave. Okay, so number 2, argument number 2 is limit effects. Okay, limit effects via a Republican government as opposed to a pure democracy. So he thinks a pure democracy would make it worse. A Republican government will make it better. Okay, so how does it work? Okay, so we will avoid this, avoid factions, because of our size and diversity. Okay? So he goes on to say, more people come and added to U.S. the factions will continue to grow, but other factions will grow too. All right. So, for number 2, you need to draw an arrow to here because that's where it picks up. This is going to go here. So, those are the lines. So, a republic by which in which I mean a government is in which the scheme of representation takes place, open up a different prospect of promises, and cure for which we are seeking is the limiting of effects. And then over here, you take in a greater variety of parties and interests, you make it less probable that a majority of the whole will have a common motive to invade the rights of other citizens, and difficult for them to gain strength. Nice. So, those are the 2 major arguments of the case. Okay, flip it. Here we go. Might as well keep using the highlighter since it's out. The influence of factious leaders may kindle the flame to spread a general conflagration through other states. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so what you need to have here, big star, as more and more people, as more and more people are added, more factions are created, but their power will be diluted because they will be in competition with one another and will have to compromise. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so the 3 things you need to know. You need to know factions. Groups of people who believe in a similar unifying belief and want to force that belief on others equals biggest threat to liberty. What do you got, Lilith?
So factions like parties?
Okay. Threat to liberty. He's talking, okay, inside every party, there are factions of the Democratic Party, like progressives, or your Tea Party in the Republican Party, right? Inside of the Republican Party, there's smaller groups. That's what he's referring to. So he doesn't think political parties are wrong because he thinks it's easier to have a conversation, and that's not in this primary. It's in another one of his. So he doesn't think those are bad. It's the factions where one group, like there are people who really do think that armed men should go into the White House and pull Biden out of there and replace him by force with Trump. Is that what America looks like? Hello?
No.
No. So that's not how things are done. Is that how we want things to be done going forward? That would be considered a faction. It's a very small group of people, but they're very passionate on this, and this is what they would like, so they do try to advance it. There are other people on the other side in the Democratic Party who believe there should be no more cars and no more airplanes. That they should be officially removed. Well, like you can't use them anymore. You can't turn them on. Is that likely going to happen? No, but they really do believe in this, and they are constantly trying to get that to happen. So we have extremes on both sides, and every group has them, but they say that is the biggest threat. The second thing that you absolutely need to know about this is that it's the government's foundation of a representative republic that will allow America to endure. And the third thing is factions will not cause America's collapse. Because of the diverse population and its ever adding amount of people. Okay, so those are the major things. So you cannot talk about Federalist 10 without using the word. There you go. So factions. So inside a political party, there are smaller denominations of that party. Like you can be a Democrat and absolutely hate Joe Biden. Right? You're still a Democrat. You're in the ultra progressive wing and you think Joe Biden might as well be a card-carrying Republican. Right? Those are factions within the Democratic Party. Here we go. Letters from Birmingham jail. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, this one hurts my heart by how fast we're going to do it. It is one of the most important documents, Ben, in history. It is incredibly important that you do take the time to read it fully. Unfortunately, it will not be in APGov. But it makes me happy that you guys have read it in other classes. So here we go. So this entire paper is written about the equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment. Okay? So this is being used to support civil rights movements, for black equality, thank you, Stephanie, 1950s to 1960s. Okay, you need to know it's led by Martin. What's the matter over there, Ben?
No, I just couldn't read.
Martin Luther King Jr. You can come closer if you'd like, Lucas. Okay. So, you have to know about Martin Luther King Jr. He does civil disobedience. Does anyone know who is the first person to do civil disobedience in the world?
The bus girl. Rosa
No.
Parks.
Rosa Parks is part of Martin Luther King's movement.
Oh.
Even Gandhi in India is the first one to do nonviolence after reading about how Gandhi protested against the British in the 1940s. Martin Luther King is going to implement it. Now, civil disobedience is non-violent direct action. Now, keep in mind, that means that Martin Luther and his followers are using nonviolence. Does that mean they're being received with nonviolence? No, they get the shit beaten out of them. They get fire hoses. They get killed. Some of them are literally just shot in the street. So they are using nonviolence, but it is not nonviolence coming at them. Why do they do it? Why are they doing nonviolence? Why are they? What's the point of it? Adam? No. What are they trying to show? By them being nonviolent, what are they trying to show?
Or like normal even though they're bad.
No. Adam? Yes, they have the moral high ground. Literally, how have you ever seen pictures from segregation during these nonviolent protests? You're seeing like these black men, women, teenagers sitting down, and these white people are just like beating the hell out of them, yes? And you see them just trying to be serene and trying to be in the moment of showing the aggression and rage coming at them. It is the photography of this movement that will actually get white America to do something. It is the horror of seeing a white grown man beating the hell out of a black girl that white America finally decides to be like, hey, this seems a little off. And finally start actively pursuing some sort of change. It is a very slow process. I am not here to make white people the hero, but you can't get change unless white people are involved here in the United States. Can we agree? So it is these images that Martin Luther King is creating that are posted in newspapers, television, heard on the radio, that are actually going to start moving that political dial. It is to show violence against people doing nothing wrong or breaking laws that are set up for systemic failures. Okay. In this piece, this is happening in Birmingham. Birmingham what? Alabama. Birmingham. He led many boycotts. Yeah. Sit-ins and marches to desegregate the South. Okay, he got arrested. And that is why he is in jail. Okay, so he got arrested. You need to know, after he organizes these sit-ins, these marches, okay, and boycotts, a white clergy. If you're a clergy member, you work for a church. A white clergy group wrote an open letter. If it's an open letter, it's published in a newspaper. An open letter saying that this behavior was disruptive, and blacks should be patient. In quotes, patient. First and foremost, this is in the 1950s and 60s. How long have they had the 14th Amendment giving them equal rights that have literally systemically been held from them? Oh, that's 100 years. So how patient have they been? And first of all, can we talk about how condescending that term is? Be patient? Oh my God. Here we go. All right, so I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what is happening in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Have we heard that quote before? Absolutely. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutually tied in a single garment of destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere is a huge quote. By the way, there's multiple coming from this. Okay, flip it. Okay, at the top of the at the top. Here we go. Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. It seeks so to dramatize the issue that it can no longer be ignored. So, what he is saying here is meaningful negotiations will never occur unless a crisis raises the stakes. Okay? So, we know through a painful experience that freedom is never voluntary given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see with one of our distinguished jurists that a justice too long delayed is justice denied. Okay? The white clergy. Be patient and wait could never be reality. Okay? Now, hi. Is that you, Pierce? Did you drop off your thing? Okay. Makes the case for... Thank you, Cozy! Makes the case for the urgency of their actions in the present day. Okay, so if he does what these white clergy men are telling him, nothing will ever occur because nothing comes by sitting around waiting. Nothing. Makes the case for urgency of their action in the present day. Flip it. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice. Damn. So white moderates are more dangerous than the Ku Klux Klan, and he makes a hell of an argument throughout the piece. Okay, with the KKK. Black people knew what they were against. But white moderates who say wait were more oppressive by not outwardly opposing. Okay, your next one is we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. Human progress never rolls in the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts of men willing to be co-workers with God. Whew. Okay, King argues that his cause is righteous. Okay? He embraces the clergy's title of extremist because Jesus was extremist. There you go. Okay. Flip it. Okay. The next page, I have nothing for you. We're going to the back page. This is the front, that's the back. So I'm on the very last full page. That is where I am, so join me. Okay. Where are you? Abused and scorned. Through abused and scorned, though we may be, our destiny is tied up with America's destiny. Before the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth, we were here. Before the pen of Jefferson etched the majestic words onto the Declaration across the pages of history, we were here. For more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored in this country without wages, made cotton king. They built homes for their masters while suffering gross injustice and shameful humiliation. And yet, out of a bottomless vitality, they continue to thrive and develop. If the inexpressible cruelties of slavery could not stop us, the opposition we now face will surely fail. We will win our freedom because the sacred heritage of our nation and eternal God are embodied in our echoing demands. Damn. One of the greatest writers in history for making clear, succinct arguments that put everyone else to shame. They will overcome, which becomes a massive rallying cry. Damn. Okay. If you've never read this piece, you really, really should. We'll do the last 3 bits on Monday. It is a beautiful piece, one of the most important documents in American history. It is incredible. Read it. He's really funny. He makes fun of himself at the end. He's so humanizing. Goodbye. I have no idea. My life is in chaos.
Bye.